52 seconds. That's how long Barrow County Sheriff Judge Smith said the shooting at Apalachee High School took, from the first shot until school resource officers took accused shooter, 14-year-old Colt Gray, into custody. In less than a minute, 4 people, 2 students and 2 teachers were killed, 9 others were hurt. And that day, September 4th, it forever changed the Winder community northeast of Atlanta. And since then, so many questions have swirled about the timeline of events, the morning of the shooting, and whether there were any warning signs that could have stopped it before it happened. Well, now in a one-on-one with 11 Alive's Cody Alcorn, Sheriff Smith is sharing chilling new details about the shooting, including Colt Gray's movements that morning. School cameras showing him entering in the bathroom moments before gunfire, and how the quick actions of the school resource officers potentially saved even more lives.
You kind of walk us through what you guys know as far as how that morning started for Colt in Bethlehem and how he got to Apalachee High School.
Colt was a bus rider. He got on the bus with a backpack. We believe he had concealed the firearm in the backpack where it was not noticeable, obviously. Got off the bus, came into school, and blended in like every other student. He was a student, he was registered there, so it wasn't like he was not supposed to be there. Got off the bus and entered the school. A rifle is you're looking at probably 2-3 foot long at the most, depending on the distance or depending on the size of the rifle, if you will. We know that he concealed it with some sort of something that he had wrapped around it. We believe that's what he did, and he concealed the top of that, and as if it was a project, a school project, if you will. He had obviously stored magazines and rounds in that backpack with it as well. And then he just brought it in. He brought it in that way, concealing it, and brought it in and toted it in like every other kid does with a backpack. It's not wasn't anything. Nothing was alarming that sticking out or anything like that you could see it. So.
And class starts at 8:15. So
roughly,
he had that going with him. Did he have it on him the whole time?
It stayed on. Yeah, he kept the backpack with him at all times, if you will. We were still sifting through camera footage of the school in and out of and we've kind of narrowed it down to where he walked and we could keep him up, and yeah, he kept it with him the whole time.
Is it your understanding that he left the classroom?
He asked to leave the classroom and go up front to see a counselor. We know that he entered a bathroom, and he stayed in the bathroom for
He took his
several
backpack
minutes.
with him?
Mm-hmm. Which is not unusual for a student to do. If you go up front, class were not far off from changing at that point. So it's not unusual if you go up front to meet with a staff member or something, or whatever he needed to go meet with. It's not unusual to carry your belongings with you, because obviously if a new class comes in, you got to come back and get that and go to your next class. So took that out. He goes into the bathroom. He sits there for a little extended amount of time. The timeline, we're still trying to get exact minutes to where we were at, so we can determine those for the prosecution, if you will. And then he goes to exits the bathroom and begins shooting. He starts looking for soft targets, if you will, and that's when it started.
The classes already changed?
There was no one in the halls. Anybody that came in the halls were going to the bathroom and had bathroom passes and stuff like that. The teachers opened the door, or one of the teachers were investigating the sounds and was ambushed by him. They were going to, if you will, to try to see what is that noise or what is that sound, because it's not a usual sound. And he shot him, and so the 2 teachers, the deceased one, Coach A, and another teacher, which we're not releasing any of the victims' names, they were going to try to, we feel like, fight him, try to get him to stop. But it didn't work out that way. They were met with a lot of gunfire, and they were injured quite heavily, and obviously one passed from his injuries, and so they were pulled back into the classroom. So he was never let into a classroom. One of the victims, the student victims, we believe saved a lot of lives when he was shot, and by kicking the door somehow or another open. So again, another God thing but his intentions was to go into a classroom and the path of least resistance, if you will. And again, we're looking at all the the video and the audio, because there is video and audio in all the schools. Our SROs, and in this instance, were prepared to use deadly force. They didn't hold back, they went to the fight. And when he put the gun down, and that question has been asked, why didn't they shoot him? When he committed to putting the gun down and laying out in the prone position as he was told to do so, that threat ends, we put him in handcuffs, and the threat's over at that point. He has to stand trial, and we're hoping that justice prevails for those victims and the 9 and the other several thousand kids in that school. And we don't have the luxury of doing what he did and being the monster that he was. They can't, once he gives up, we don't have the luxury of shooting him, then we're no different than he is. And they're fighting him with a handgun, and he's got a semi-automatic rifle. They never win that battle. They were shrouded by angels, and God protected them. I believe that, and I will continue to believe that as long as I'm here.
Do you guys have a rough amount of time of when the first shot was fired to when he got on the ground? Do you guys have a rough time?
Less than a minute, around 52 seconds. And then I'd say within 10 minutes of us getting in the building, we had all the injured evacuated, and we got them out. I'm told that had we waited, 4 more people could have died from their injuries. Our ERF teams went in and went into the building, and our ERF teams are our EMS that wear tactical stuff, that are tactical meds. They go in with their gear, and we've been testing this theory, if you will, with our last 2 or 3 years training, and it worked out, and they saved lives. And just 4 more people that they're telling us could have potentially, had we left and waited and waited on the situation and waited for them to stage, if you will, until it was safe. But it wasn't safe when they went in. And they went in, and I'm telling you, those ERF teams did a good job getting folks out and getting them out as quickly as possible. Not knowing, because in your situation, we're thinking 1, 2, maybe 3 shooters. We didn't know at the time we had the shooter. We knew we had the one we engaged, Colt Gray, in custody, but we didn't know if he was acting alone or with multiple people.
Has it been hard to watch that video?
Very. It's turned your stomach. There's a lot of carnage. I hate to use it, but I'm a pretty blunt person. There's a lot of carnage. He intended to do what he did. He knew he had all intent. He brought the gun to school. He had it, and he had, I think it was cold and calculated. And I think, I believe his father was irresponsible in having guns available to him. I'm going to continue to say that, and that's why unprecedentedly, we have charged the dad, and we're not doing that to send a message. We feel he's part of the problem.
A huge question a lot of people have asked, this Marcy Gray's mom.
Mm-hmm.
She's still on national news that she called up to the school that morning and talked to a counselor. So
Marcy Gray did call the school, and I can say that, and that would obviously come out in the prosecution that she did call. She did call with some concerns that he had. But this didn't happen just that morning. This has been festering over time that I believe, and so she did call. She did speak to someone at the school, and we were actively looking for him. I am not aware of her saying he is going to do this or he has planned this, but there were some messages back and forth. But the eerily coincidence of this is that Colt Gray is sitting in the class next to another student by almost identically the same name. And so when we go into the classroom, our SRO said they were doing their job looking for Colt. And they said, where's Colt at? And well, he's not here. He went to the bathroom with a student that has the almost same name. That's who they think we're looking for. We go to the bathroom. He comes out and says, yeah, well, what can I do to help you? And he's a model student. He doesn't get in any trouble. He complies. We go up front. As we're trying to figure out what's going on, the shooting starts. And I want it to be very clear, too, that he had registered 2 weeks prior to that and only been to school maybe 3 days. This was his 2nd or 3rd day. Colt Gray didn't give that school a chance to love on him. I'll be honest with you. He did not give Chi Nation, that's what we call them, Chi Nation an opportunity to love on him. Had he done that, I feel confident we wouldn't be talking right now. Confident. Because every child that comes into Barrow County schools from pre-K on, they are loved and they are told they're worthy, and every one of them. And we have our problem kids like every other system, but they're given that love. And I don't think he gave that opportunity. I think he was there and said, "This is my opportunity," and here we are.
Going back now to that morning of going back to his dad, you guys are charging him with second-degree murder.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I know the ATF, I was at his house. They were there all day going through stuff. And people are curious, how is that possible to charge him with a murder charge?
I'm all for the Second Amendment. I have no problem with you if you're a legal, law-abiding citizen that you want to purchase a firearm. I have no issue with that. I believe in the Second Amendment. I believe in the entire Constitution, front to back. It's not up to debate for me, politics, but if you're going to own a firearm and you were going to have possession of a firearm, I believe you should be responsible for the whereabouts of that firearm, how you store it, where it's around. You should. And I think Colin Gray did not have responsibility, and I think his actions of leaving that firearm available to Colt Gray is why we're here today. And so he's getting charged with second-degree murder, not only for that, but the cruelty to the children, and that's part of it. But I'm adamant, and I know we're in uncharted waters in a lot of things, but I applaud our DA. I applaud Brad Smith for seeing this for what it is, and taking that step to prosecute someone, and again, not trying to send a message at all, but trying to send a sense of responsibility to gun owners.
I know there's NBC's reporting this, some other national outlets are saying that he bought that gun for him for a Christmas present. Do you guys know if that gun was for him, or was that his dad's that he just had access to?
I've heard that too, and I can't say if he did or didn't. Colin Gray purchased the firearm in a legal manner, and you know, he had it, he didn't have it secured. And if you're going to have a firearm, you need to have it secured some way.
And was a lot of that search, you know, we always see this after something like this, you go to the house and they spend hours there.
Mm-hmm.
Was there a lot of evidence collected that helped in this case inside that house?
Quite a bit. There are facts that we're not going to release, because at the end of the day, on two sides of this, we have to make sure we get it right for these victims, and these 9 victims, the 4 victims and the 9 victims that are still with us, and the countless kids that are traumatized over this. We have to make sure we get it right. We have to do 2 things. We have to make sure that Colt and Colin Gray have a fair trial, that they face justice, and that something doesn't get missed. Understand that we're going to do everything we can to try to get to the bottom of what happened, and I feel like that's where we're going, and that's the path we're going. But now we're in the stage of why. We may not ever know why. One of my investigators said we live in a microwave society. We want it now. We want it in seconds. We want it in minutes. We're still sifting through a bunch of evidence of finding out and putting a timeline together, and maybe we will figure out one day why.
Has Colt told you guys why he did it?
Based on my guys, not really. Not really. Just and hopefully under his I guess guardianship or his legal counsel, maybe we'll find out. I don't know. Barrow County is resilient. Our kids are resilient. Our teachers are resilient. Our kids and our teachers are so brave. They are. And these teachers love on these kids. Mm-hmm. These are their babies too. When you send, as a parent, you fear, when I send my kid to school, when I put them on the bus, they're supposed to come home. We know that. We know that now. We knew that before. We know that we're going to know that in the future. But I feel, yeah, the kids are going to be a little bit nervous. I urge that the parents not manifest that fear to them. If your kids aren't scared, let them have a sense of normalcy. I know it's not going to be normal now. I get it. But what I urge them to do is to talk through it, talk about it, talk about what you were doing, and that's part of the healing process that we're going through now. But the teachers called the kids today, and they talked to them on the phone and said, "Hey, I'm here for you." Mm-hmm. And that's part of that step of doing it. I have full confidence in Apalachee. I have full confidence in She Nation. I have full confidence in the administration and all of our PDC folks. We love on our kids in this community. We pray over our kids in this community. We don't mind telling people that, and we do what we have to do to make sure they're protected, and we're going to continue to do that. This is unprecedented. I keep saying that. It is unprecedented. We've never dealt with it. You think not here, but it is here. I trust that She Nation is going to rise above all this.